G'day everyone, my name is Eamon from Level 26 Devs, and today I'll be giving you 20 quick tips regarding the Unity interface which will help you navigate Unity better. Let's get right into it.
The first tip is that you should modify your layout. To change your layout, go to the top right hand corner and click on the drop down menu where it says default. As you can see here, Unity has a bunch of preset layouts that you can use. However, a great feature is that you can save your layouts, which I've done here, and this is the layout I use when I make my games. Hopefully you know by now that changes you make in play mode won't save when you exit play mode. Unfortunately, I myself have been guilty of doing this and then having to go back and make the changes again. To make sure that this doesn't happen, you can tint your window a certain color when play mode is on to make sure that you realize that play mode is on. To do this, go to Edit, then go to Preferences and select Colors. In here you should find this one called Play Mode Tint, and then you can choose a color that your game will tint when you're in play mode. For me, I'll just go a nice yellow and see how that looks. Yep, all done. Sometimes when you're working with windows such as Scene, Animator, or a shader graph editor, you might feel like the small window you are currently working in isn't big enough. To quickly largen the window you are working with, just right click on the window's name and then just check Maximize, and it maximizes. The best thing about it, however, is if you repeat that process, it will return to its original size. To open a new window, just go to where it says Window at the top of your screen and click on it and choose whichever window you want. The basic ones such as Scene, Game, and Inspector and Console are under General, and the rest are pretty self-explanatory. For example, currently, as you can see here, I don't have a console window open. So to open one, I'll just go to Window, General, Console. And then to move it, if I want to, I can just click on where it says its name up there and just drag it around. So I want it next to my animator, so I put it there. Say you're working in a mobile game and you want to see what your game looks like on an iPad or an iPhone. Well, if you go to game window and click on simulator, then you should just be able to straight away see an iPad or an iPhone right there. The best thing about Unity, however, is that here has tons of options where you can choose to see exactly what your game looks like on different devices. So say I wanted to see what it looks like on an iPhone 12, voila. Speaking of the game window, at the top right there are some more useful settings. To maximize your game, just choose this drop down menu and select play maximized. Then next to it is the mute audio button, pretty self-explanatory. The Unity shortcuts turns Unity shortcuts on and off, and then stats, which has FPS over here. The next one is Gizmos. So you notice how in the scene view you can see that light. If you want to see it in the game view, just turn on Gizmos and then turn it off if you don't want to. And you can also select this and choose which Gizmos you want on and which ones you want off, if you want. Often, you'll find yourself in a situation where the game is maximized, but you want to access the inspector to look at some of the valuables of your objects in the game. So, to do this without exiting play mode, you can easily just press pause. You can sit here, and then if you want to keep it focused, then you just press focused and then unpause, and voila. The eighth tip is that Control Z will undo selections. This is really helpful, say if you're selecting a large amount of objects in your hierarchy, but then you accidentally select one that you don't want to. For example, if I want to make every second one of these red, and I accidentally select, say, number 3 as well, I can just quickly go Control Z without having to unselect them all and then reselect them all again. Speaking of select, to select multiple things at the same time, you can click on them whilst holding down Control, as you saw I did in the previous tip. As I click number 2, I'm holding down Control to help me click them. But say I want to select all of them, I could just easily select here and then hold Shift and press on the last one, and then all the ones in between will be selected as well. In Unity, if there are multiple objects selected, you'll be able to edit the components which they share with all the rest of the objects in the inspector. If the values of the components are different, then it will appear as a dash, as you can see here by the x coordinate of each square. As you can see, they're different. But if they're all the same, as you can see by the y coordinate of each square, then it will show the value. The best thing is, however, that any change that you make to these that you make to the inspector here will apply to all of them. For example, if I want to make all of them pink, all I'd have to do is just change the color, and voila! A useful feature of Unity is that you can lock the inspector. To lock the inspector, just go to the top right hand corner of the inspector window and press the lock button. Whilst the inspector is locked, it won't show the components of a selected object and will instead show the components of the object that was selected when the inspector was locked. As you can see here, I've selected square 4, but I've still got square 0 on my inspector. This is extremely useful if you're going to assign a selection of game objects to a game object array, because then you can select the objects without worrying about the inspector changing. Another really useful feature of Unity is that, say I'm in the scene view, but I can't seem to find my object, and no matter how far I scroll, I still can't find it. Well, if you can find it in the hierarchy, then if you double click on it, the scene view will automatically zoom up to the object. At the top of the scene window, there is a couple of important features that you should know about. For example, here, this changes the scene view from 2D to 3D. This one will toggle lighting on and off, audio on and off. This one, I'll explain that later, and I'll also explain that later, but this is the camera. So you can change the settings of your scene camera right here. In the console window, your messages, aka your debug.logs as I like to call them, your warnings and your errors will appear. Now, a useful feature of Unity is that you can filter through them using these objects up here. As you can see here, if you press on one of them, then it will hide all the errors, it will hide all the warnings, and it will hide all the messages. Say you just want messages, a great way is to make sure the messages are selected and then unselect these two so you can only see messages. To clear your messages on the console, you can simply press the clear button and boom, they're all gone. Now, let me just create some more messages. There are some more settings such as clear on play, clear on build, clear on recompile. Clear on recompile simply means if you edit your scripts, then you re-enter back into Unity, it quickly has to recompile and your messages will be cleared. Clear on build means when you build your scene, you'll clear it. Clear on play means that when you enter play mode, your thing will automatically be cleared. So for example, as you can see here, I got clear on play built checked. So boom, there we go. I'm just pressing W to make some more. And then you'll notice that if I unselect it, voila, they don't disappear. As you can see here, I have two squares, one white, one pink. Let's say hypothetically, right, they're overlapping, so I can only see the white one. How do I make sure, if I want the pink one, how do I make it so it appears in front? Well, the first way you can do that is to look in the order in layer. Now, the higher the value this is, then it will appear on top of any object that has a lesser order in layer value. For example, if I put 2, boom, there we go. Another way I can make the pink square appear in front of the white square is if I change its sorting layer. As you can see here, I've already created a new sorting layer that's called new layer 1. If I select this, then voila, it appears in front. This is because any object on the sorting layer, new layer 1, will appear in front of any object in the sorting layer of default. If I were to switch these two around, however, and make sure that the new layer 1 was on top, which I'll explain how later, then anything on default will appear in front of new layer 1. Also about sorting layer is that order in layer won't override sorting layer. So in this example, even through its order layers in 1, which is greater than the 0 of this one, because they're not on the same layer, it doesn't matter. Another great feature of Unity is that say you can't find something within your hierarchy, within your project, or even within Unity as a whole, you can find it using the global search feature. Now, so say for example, we're trying to tint up play mode color as explored in step number 2. Now for this I can search up play mode tint, and I'll find that there's one result. If I click here, you'll see, double click there, you'll see that it takes me right to the page where I can edit my play mode tint. Next thing, say there's something visible in my scene view that I don't want to look at, but I want it to be visible in the game. I can easily adjust this using this eye feature here. So if I don't want to see the pink square in the scene view, I click it, and as you can see here, I can only see the white square, but I can see the pink square in the game view. Now in the scene, you can toggle this on and off by using this button. So if it's like this, it means that it doesn't matter which objects are supposedly invisible, you'll still be able to see them, while this one makes sure that I can't. Lastly, my greatest tip to you is have fun on your game development journey. I know from personal experience that game development can be extremely frustrating and seems to take forever. But if you just keep at it and stick to it, then all of a sudden you'll find that you have a finished game which will at least bring you pride and joy. So that brings my 20 tips to an end. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe. If you have any Unity topics that you want covered in future videos, please let me know down below in the comments. And for those of you who don't know, I recently released my first game, Exetor. So please visit the Steam page linked in the description. Anyway, have a fantastic day, and here is Exetor's promo.